This movie begins with a female doctor named Tanvi arriving at a hospital where an old woman is shouting at everyone for some reason. The girl assures her that she has packed her medicines inside the bag, but the old woman is acting like a Karen. Even the security guard was accusing her for being a sucker. Later, we can see the same woman recalling the moments when she took care for her and felt devastated. Basically, Tanvi has felt a mother and daughter connection while taking care of the old women since she never had a mother in her life, but the women showed her true colors upon leaving the hospital. We are moved to another scene where a train is arriving at a station. A man walks outside who looks like a military veteran along with his friends. This is Deepak Sharma, elder brother of Anand Sharma, who asked the doctors to admit Anand into this mental hospital. But the doctor insists on testing him first. Anand seemed totally normal and even intelligent with his talks, so the doctors deny admitting into the hospital. Seeing this, Deepak starts to beg them, since Anand has been accused of taking away someone's life, and even the government has considered him mentally unstable. Suddenly, Anand comes out of the room and starts breaking whatever is coming in his way, just to be able to take out a small bee. Seeing this, doctors take the action on the spot and admit Anand in the hospital, and we can see him wearing the hospital clothes. Anand looks around all the patients and proceeds to introduce himself to everyone, including a coma patient, who he even calls Baldy. After meeting a couple more people around, everyone is called by the guards to take their medicines one by one. Everything was going well until Anand comes and takes the pill, but he tricks them all. Hospital owner arrives and begins to shout at everyone for not following the rules, while Anand was imagining him as a rock star who is rapping and laughs at him. The rude man comes near him and scolds him for it. One of the patients reveals never to mess with this guy since he is a retired general. The owner explains to one of the senior doctors how Anand belonged to a rich family, his sisters live in United States, while his brother takes care of him here. Suddenly, the senior doctor starts to realize a past memory where Anand's father was lending him money and Anand was just a little kid at that time. His relationship with Anand was very close, even better than a real sibling. While Anand was being scolded brutally by the rude man, he himself was looking at him as if he found a long-lost young brother. He calls Anand's name and walks toward him, but Anand has no clue who he was. Anand acts like he has realized who Sunil really is, but tells the doctor they just met inside the office. Later on, we can see Tanvi trying to force him to take the pill and walks away, but Anand teases her after she leaves. While their exercise classes, Anand was playing with all other patients, which is noticed by the girl. She politely takes him somewhere and tells him to clean the whole room instead. While starting to clean the room, a chain of events starts where Anand messes up most of things. There comes Dr. Kirana, along with Tanvi, and shout at him to the chaos he has created. Suddenly, Anand sees a bee on Dr. Kirana's face and slaps him to get rid of the bee. Not too long after, we can see Anand into shock room, getting shocked the hell out of him and imagining himself with a girl. In the end, he shouts a girl's name called Maya, and the process has ended. All the patients were surprised to see Anand like this and walks near him, but he was still joking and laughing. Later, Dr. Kirana tells her to sign all the forms so that she can travel to England for her further studies. Anand gets to know a crying patient needs a candle to be able to pray for his long-gone wife. Seeing this, Anand calmly asks a guard for it, but instead they shout at him and send him away. Anand gets an idea and show the main guard some money, to which Anand offers him his pocket money and asks for his clothes so that he can go outside and buy a candle. On his way, Dr. Kirana catches him red-handed and decides to follow him. Even Dr. Sunil watches Anand running away, but did not spit out a word. Dr. Kirana comes into the hospital to look for Anand and luckily finds out that Anand is still inside. This was all possible because of Dr. Sunil, who still have strong emotions for Anand and still see him as his little brother. Upon arriving back into the room, Anand watches guards were showing their brutality to a patient due to the candles he possessed. Anand could not control himself seeing all of it and runs towards the guards to take them out instead and returns the candles to him. After getting beaten by guards, Anand has been taken to the shock room once again. He was scared of it and calls the only person who cares for him, which is Dr. Sunil. He takes him out of the spot, which is seen by Dr. Kirana as well. We are moved to another scene where Dr. Kirana along with Sunil and Tanvi arrives at a location far from the hospital. Dr. Kirana argued to Sunil as if he stopped trusting his skills, but then he finally reveals the reality of him and Anand's deep relationship. One day, a gathering happens in which Anand has asked for some music therapy, but in order to make it a reality, majority of the patients will have to put their hands up. Anand was very passionate about music for some reason and one by one decided to make patient put their hands up. He needed at least 13 hands, but by the time the last hand was put up, the time was over and the Dr. Tanvi walks away, hence leaving Anand and Dr. Sunil devastated. Suddenly, one of the patients began to sing a song in support of Anand, and soon after all the patients sing along and dance around the hospital, until Dr. Tanvi arrives and shut down everything. Anand is given a punishment by Tanvi, where he is bit by a mosquito and a frenzy starts with him, resulting in ruining sponsorship papers of Tanvi. This makes her very angry and she begins slapping mentally ill Anand, until Dr. Sunil comes in the way. Sunil explains to her the reason she hates Anand, because of his patient number, which is number 36. She used to take care of the old women, who we saw at the start of the movie, but Tanvi took care of her as if she was her mother, and later the old women did not even look twice before going away. He assures her that Anand is not as bad as he acts and explains to her the way he will heal is love and nothing else, and gives her a diary to read, which he found inside Anand's bag earlier. Later, we see Anand talking to the same old patient, who reveals how he was not really a mental patient. He arrived here because his sons and daughters were fighting over his wealth. He has a small orphan grandchild who he used to send gifts every year, but not anymore. Anand decides to help him out and pays the same guard some money, but before Anand leaves, he reveals to him about a man who used to act just like him, and one day Dr. Kirana did something to his brain and since then he is in coma. Later, when the guards and nurses arrives for the medicines, he gets caught red-handed, which results in him getting a punishment by Dr. Kirana. Next, we can see Dr. Tanvi is reading Anand's diary when he used to be normal. We can see Anand playing a guitar for a girl, trying to impress her with all the tactics he could, but she was ignoring him a lot. Anand does not give up and keeps trying his best efforts. Finally, he comes in her way to reveal he loves her, but still no reaction from the girl. She is in church, where Anand also arrives and sits beside her and reveals to the god how much he loved a girl, basically suggesting the girl who is sitting beside him, and walks away saying some people don't realize about love. Later, he comes at the same church as an electrician and persuade the women to let her in. He comes inside the room of the same girl he was crazy about, who is revealed to be Maya. She walks inside in the dark room and watches her whole wall is filled with love words and seems shocked. One day she was riding her bicycle and comes across a road and sees many types of love lines written specially for her. She follows the way and finally reaches a large board, where she asks Anand if he was crazy, to which he says yes. Suddenly, she reveals she wanted to be a nun for the rest of her life and take care for humanity since her parents died. This has become her dream. Later on, Anand arrives at the church and tries to persuade Maya in front of all the people, but Maya did not say a word. Anand was for sure crazy and goes on top of a building and put a whole lot of gasoline on top of himself, unless she reveals what she thinks of him. He finally does the undouble, it seemed like, and everyone ran after him, but gets to know it was not him who was burning. The girl walks up to him and slaps him several times before hugging him with pure love. Seeing their love, even father winks at him. We can see them in a relationship where she calls Anand prince of her dreams. She wonders how people can ride a horse, so Anand puts her on top of the horse. Suddenly, the horse runs as fast as he could while she was not able to control it. But later Anand sees her harmless and smiling, suggesting she was just messing with him. Later on, she asks the same thing about the car and tells him to teach her how to drive. She was hesitant, but Anand insists her and he gives her all the instructions. She was driving pretty well at first, but unknowingly started to drive it so fast that even a blind guy started seeing everything. It is revealed that she can drive a car perfectly. Once again, Maya lied to him about it and explains the reason she played him because he played her too when acted as if he was burning himself earlier. It was the day before Christmas. Everyone was celebrating and we can see Anand asking his girlfriend to sing a song. A really sad romantic song is played for quite a while until both can be seen sitting beside a swimming pool. As expected, Maya asks him how people swim in water and he throws her away inside the pool. When Anand arrives back, he finds out that Maya is no more alive and mourns in sheer emotions. Upon her funeral, Anand was devastated and takes a look at Maya's face and sees a bee sitting on top, resulting in him hitting it. Since then, he lost his mind and became mentally ill. We can see Dr. Tanvi standing up as she finishes reading whole story of Anand. She arrives back into the hospital, where Anand started to punish himself, but little did he know his story has warmed her heart for him. She talks Dr. Sunil about Anand, where Tanvi thinks his story story is really eye-watering, while Sunil suspects him to either really be mad or could be an act to get rid of his past memories. Hearing this, Tanvi thinks that might not be true. She finally arrives back in the hospital to ask if he was going to sing a song. Anand, however, wanted to get rid of the hospital jail he was in and wanted to see nature. Dr. Tanvi was not sure if she wanted to take the risk and asks Dr. Sunil about it, to which he assures her that he knows Anand since childhood. He suggests Anand would never harm her or run away. Later on, Tanvi shaves Anand's beard herself and takes him out of the hospital. Seeing him happy also makes her smile. Hearing birds' noise was making him happy, but when the bird stops singing, which makes Anand angry. Dr. Tanvi tells him to stop, but also mimics bird sound right after, which indeed makes her smile. They have spent quite a while outside and Anand suddenly disappears in thin air. Dr. Kirana's anger was out of the roof and shouted at everyone for being irresponsible. Dr. Sunil suggests Anand Kumar is a special case, to which Kirana shouts louder at him, scolding him for taking care of Anand because he is his relative. He ends up suspending his own daughter in sheer anger, which makes her emotional and she starts to cry. Immediately, she sees Anand arriving back at hospital and reveals the reason he disappeared earlier, which was to buy her new churiya, a group of Indian bracelet that women wears in India as a symbol of beauty, which makes her very emotional about the incident, and they go inside the hospital to see Dr. Kirana and Sunil. Dr. Kirana was finally leaving for a meeting in London and tells them to not be soft-hearted to the patients. Later on, Dr. Sunil arrives inside the ward and walks toward Anand and gives him his favorite doll. He takes him back to his office and begins to reveal about the past incidents, which Anand seemed to remember. In a minute, Anand ends up asking him where he lives, his village, and who he is, suggesting he have no clue of Dr. Sunil or his own past. Sunil finally asks him about Maya, to which he threw away everything and walked away. Sunil tells this to Dr. Tanvi as well. Following day, Anand felt very sad, so Tanvi takes him away for some coffee, but she uses the same tactic he once used, which makes him realize something and he feels anxious. Same thing happens inside Tanvi's own room as well. Suddenly, he started to realize everything and leaves Tanvi's house. Tanvi finally reaches hospital and finds Anand laying on his bed. Later, we can see Dr. Sunil providing him with a music system and he finally decides to sing a song on his own, which is being recorded by Dr. Sunil. Tanvi offers Anand a gift, which was the same musical instrument he used in the past, which makes him recall all the moments with Maya. Dr. Tanvi was using Maya's dress to make him realize reality, which was working quite a bit. Finally, imagining Maya, he recalls her going back into a lake and loses self-control and hits his head brutally in a tree. We can see him laying on his bed injured, where Tanvi started to recall all the memories she herself spent with mentally ill Anand. It was clear that she herself has deeply fallen in love with him. Same day, Anand wakes up from his head injury and acts as if he finally back into his conscience. She ran away as fast as she could to tell about the good news to Dr. Sunil, and he finally observed him as he was cured. Dr. Sunil was happy and decided to call his older brother to pick him up from the hospital. But hearing this news, Dr. Tanvi becomes pretty devastated and argues with Dr. Sunil because she was not ready to let him go yet and starts to cry, thinking of all the moments they spent together. She was really in love with Anand, where Dr. Sunil nervously suggests her to not let her emotions arise. It was clear this has already happened and explains to Dr. Sunil that she will never come back into this hospital in case Anand leaves. Right after, Anand sees Tanvi as well and tell her to come with him after calling her name. While Tanvi and Anand were spending time together, former guard of the hospital was watching all of it and looked suspicious. Both Sunil and Tanvi can be seen talking to Dr. Kirana and reveals how Anand was finally cured, but Kirana doesn't think much of it and tell them that he has finally fixed an arranged marriage for his daughter Tanvi. Both were shocked to hear this news. Former guard arrives at Kirana's house and angrily asks for Kirana and sits as if he is the real boss, but stand up upon hearing Kirana's voice. When Kirana does not hire him back, even after asking him politely, he begins to show his real aggressive self and reveals to him about Anand and Tanvi being in love. After getting slapped by Kirana, he says sorry and leaves. Karen, who has arrived from London to marry Tanvi, hears everything and leaves devastated. Dr. Kirana calls Sunil and asks about the relationship between Anand and Tanvi, to which he hesitantly explains that it is true. Kirana's felt as if heart attack is just minutes away for him and reveals he can do anything for Tanvi's happiness, but cannot give her daughter to a mentally ill person and shouts angrily. We are moved to another scene where Karen is asking Tanvi about Anand, where she finally reveals about the truth. Karen was fine with it since he was her good friend and congratulate her for it. Suddenly, Kirana comes and explains he can be a very cruel father if needed to be. Later on, Dr. Kirana calls Anand, and when he takes a seat like a gentleman, he began to shout at him saying he is still stupid and dumb. However, Anand was still polite to angry Kirana about it and apologized to him. Suddenly, Kirana stands up and starts to shout at him and keep insisting as it was his life's goal to prove he was mentally ill. Hearing this, Anand also gets a bit upset, but tells Kirana to release himself from the hospital, but Dr. Kirana signals his guards to take him away. Anand was shouting his lungs out to his brother to save him, as he was not mentally ill anymore, but Kirana assures his brother that he is not at all well and still needed treatment, to which the brother leaves the hospital. Following day, Dr. Sunil arrives and accuses Kirana of his brutal acts and misusing his power. Not too long after, a huge argument happens between Kirana and Sunil, who even begs him to release Anand. However, Kirana was determined to not lose Tanvi because of Anand and suggests Sunil to either leave the work or he will dismiss him himself. Later, Sunil is talking to Tanvi against Tanvi's own father and getting angrier every moment. He has no clue on what to do next, but Tanvi suggests she should be punished for the acts, not Anand. Finally, Dr. Sunil comes up with a plan to sneak Anand out of the hospital at night, where Tanvi will leave with him too. We can see Dr. Kirana arrives along with his guards and asks Anand to deny his love towards Tanvi. But Anand's love for Tanvi was true and tells Kirana he loves Tanvi a lot. Anand's anger also gets the best of him and he manages to escape guards to be able to catch Dr. Kirana and almost faints him down with his sheer anger. Suddenly, a nurse arrives and injects Anand with a sedative, where Kirana is finally free. We are moved to another scene where Dr. Sunil calls Tanvi and tells her to be ready to leave right outside the hospital. Upon leaving, Karen meets her outside of her house and offers her a ride. We can see a scene in the hospital where Dr. Kirana calls a doctor and tells her to take Anand into the operation theater. While Karen leaves Tanvi outside the hospital, Dr. Sunil arrives at hospital ward, but Anand was not there as expected. He then walks toward his bed and finds out something that no one could expect. Anand has been given a permanent medically induced coma. Anand was still conscious and shed a tear upon seeing Sunil. Sunil accused himself for all that has happened. Dr. Sunil was left with no choice but to take away Anand's pain for eternity and free him from the hell he was about to face. Suddenly, all the patients wakes up and ask him to wake up, but realize he was long gone. Dr. Sunil comes into Kirana's office and tells him to call the police since he freed Anand from all the pain. Tanvi also heard all of this and we can see she has suffered a shock, and due to that she has lost herself for eternity. Subscribe and like and recaps for more videos like this.